Hi, Max. What's up?
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So pretty productive week, man. Wow.
Yeah, it went very well, actually. Yeah, I still have a lot of pull requests. There is this contribution game right now, and yeah, I have like over 100 issues and pull requests to look at. GitHub notifications. So I want to merge as many things as many I can until the 25th. Of course, I don't merge shit, so not
Yeah,
sure.
be careful there.
Yeah, so I'm really on it right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
up
no,
with you?
good. Well, a lot of stuff. Really like the documentation so far. That really has been going well. And it gives me like an excuse to sit down and write for a couple of minutes this one topic. And that's pretty good. But yeah, the usual, really, man. Bunch of stuff to work on. I realized today how much work we still have to do. Oh God.
It's I didn't have time to look at the repo yet, but I will in a few weeks. Don't worry.
You don't. Like, I'm mad at you if you do. No, like seriously though, this really is something that should waste your time as little as possible. Though, however, I would say one thing is that I still need one thing for you to do, and that would be to set up the Gitbook project or organization or something. There's an issue where one contributor tells you how exactly that works. And then as soon as you add me as the contributor or maintainer of that Gitbook, then I think I can do everything. But I think it's best that you have the password and like the main account and everything that is with you. So I didn't want to open the account myself.
All right. You sent me a message about this to me. Did you?
It's no, or I think I did. Let me check. Maybe in Slack. You're definitely linked in the GitHub.
Okay. One thing I want to, yeah, it's only you that I gave you triage access to the Wasabi repo on GitHub because you are opening a lot of issues and participating in a lot of things. So I give you this kind of access. This means you can label issues and maybe you can close them, things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, good. I saw that. That's very good. And thanks for that. So yeah, actually though, like how can I be more of support with like closing issues and like the stuff that I think that I can like work on my own without you having to waste time on it? How can I mark that properly so that I take as much work off you as possible?
I mean, you're doing great. So I cannot ask for more,
Well, okay, good to know that I'm on the right track. But like, please, if I like mess something up, or if I open too many issues, or if I don't know anything, like let me know on how I can do it better.
All right.
Cool. So, like, dude, really good decision that you got off Twitter.
Man, things went crazy. Like, seriously, I didn't even know.
Dude, it's insane.
I got an email from a journalist that Wasabi Ballet implementation failed or something like that.
No, man.
And then I was getting more emails and I'm like, what the heck is going on since I left Twitter? Something is really not right.
Oh, dude. And I've been trying to dismantle left and right. Hey, David.
Hi.
Dude, but yeah, like so many messages coming in, and A lot of questions to answer, a lot of misinformation that has to be cleaned up, and a lot of things that just are now no longer as clear. And I hope that users will do their own research and don't just trust what random people on the internet are saying, but actually look into this stuff and find out for their own. Because that's another thing. Although I got many messages with uncertainty and they didn't know exactly what to do. I also got many messages that were quite supportive and be like, yeah, dude, these accusations are nonsense. So keep it up and keep building. So I trust that the Bitcoin communities, the tribe, is smart enough to look into this and don't fall for such an easy attack.
Hi, Denise.
Hi.
No para. I saw that Dan said that he's gonna invite you. Can you tell a few things about yourself?
Yeah, okay. Thanks for inviting me. I got in touch with Max because I started to put some ideas in the UX GitHub issue. And I have some ideas about how we could improve the UX and UI of Wasabi. And basically, I thought about how we can tackle all of this in a more structured manner than just having this large GitHub issue, which grows too big to practically work on dedicated tasks. And yeah, that's how I got in touch and what I'd be interested in helping with.
Yeah, definitely. That was the plan with that issue, to tackle in a systemic way. I was kind of hoping it will grow this big, but yeah, it really did. It's really nice. The thing about that issue yet is that our UI framework is Avalonia. One of our maintainers is going to be here very soon, and Avalonia is doing a very big update, and we have to update Avalonia before we start working on the UI, because there will be a lot of breaking changes. So now if we do that, if we would tackle that issue right now, then we would have to redo a lot of things after Avalonia update is get into Wasabi. So yeah, and we will have notifications and a bunch of little annoying stuff like manual double click doesn't really work properly and gonna be fixed. So the thing is, yeah, we are waiting for the update, and it's actually happening. I think Dan already started working on the migration. Not quite sure. We will see when he gets here. So yeah, that's the status. That's the context there.
Yeah, well, I think it's not a problem if this can't be tackled right now, because most of the things I'd imagine to be done would be or would happen on a conceptual level. I'd come up with mock-ups like the one I already posted in the GitHub issue. And
You were the one who posted the welcome screen things.
Yeah, the proposal for the onboarding screen.
Yeah, that's definitely something we're gonna do. That was really awesome. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Yeah, and going further, I think there could be more screens we could improve, and we don't have to overhaul everything at once. Like I said, I think there are many low-hanging fruits we can approach first, and yeah, see how all of this turns out.
Yeah, since we're here, hey Dan.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
It's good. Wanted to ask you about Avalonia update. How is it going? Is it already out or not yet?
Not quite. I got a little bit stuck on the menu thing. Hopefully I'll finish that this week now. I think I found a way around it. But the release is waiting on that and a couple more things, so nearly there, not quite though.
All right, that sounds good.
2 weeks.
Maybe.
So since you're here, Dan, I want my first topic that you said something like we have to talk about observe on the UI thread. What
Oh, yeah.
what was it about?
Yeah, so is Lucas here or is Lucas not here?
No, he's not. You want to wait for him?
He's going to join today, do you think?
I think so. Yes.
It would be beneficial to have him in this one, I think. But
Okay. Let's do that.
maybe we'll
So
wait 10 minutes, and if he's not here, we'll go ahead.
okay. Then I'm out of topics. Those I have 3 more, but they need Lucas. So let's go through everyone. Let's see. Dan, you are on the left. So do you have something you want to bring up, and Lucas doesn't have to hear it?
Only one suggestion I was going to say. I was wondering if you might want to move the meetings like in the daytime or something, and then we can get Juma to join as well.
Yeah, that was actually one of my topic.
Fine.
I wanted to wait for Lucas, but yeah, I will bring it up when he gets here. All right, how about you, David?
I'm good. I have nothing else to add. We work together, so I'm in picture.
Max?
Well, okay. So maybe the biggest thing that I'm working on right now is the documentation. So maybe just to get this on record here in the group, there is now a separate repository under the CK Snacks organization called Wasabi doc, all one word. And in here, we will build the markdown files that will compile to the Git book that does then the documentation. This Git book will be able to reach at something like docs.wasabi.io or something. And so the repository structure itself, there is like the regular doc, and then inside there is a docs folder with an S. And in here are all the files. There will be a bunch of files, and they will be structured to fit like somewhat of the user experience. And then there's also a very exhaustive frequently asked question, which I personally like a lot because I answer a lot of questions, and it's good to have links available to like specifically, or to just link and then the question is answered. So that is nice. And I want this documentation to really be something that you all don't work at all on it, because you should really focus on development and on like doing the real stuff and not just talking about it like I do. So this is really something that I think I can contribute a lot to. However, nevertheless, that there will every now and then again be some things that I need your help with. For example, right now I'm not, so I'm in the FAQ, I'm explaining ZeroLink, and I'm not so certain about some of the nuances, especially like the unequal D thing that is being used for some authentication. I like nuances like this that I don't yet know exactly how. And the question would be, how can I selectively provide you these pull requests for review so that you know exactly what is of interest to you in this repository? And how would you in general then like to see the review process of this?
I think you can add reviewers to the pull requests.
Yes.
But you know, these reviews may don't happen in a week or something. So just saying that patience is needed there.
Yes, and it's not a time-sensitive thing, right? I mean, if the doc like gets published today or in a week doesn't really matter too much. So absolutely, like that's what I mean. I really don't want you wasting any time on this. There's much more important stuff for you to do. So okay, so adding you as review, I'll do that. Maybe ping you in the issue itself, and then I guess that should be enough for.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have any other topic, Max?
Yes, I put out this tweet asking for user feedback on what to prioritize on. And the three things that I really want to see is first to change the default anonymity set. We had a really short GitHub discussion about this. Then to manually change the shield in the case that the user knows what he's doing and wants to have better graphical guides for which coins are actually private and which coins are actually not, when the automatic selection just messes up. And I would like to see more protections for accidental consolidation of coins. So we already have this short message in the bottom of the send list, but I would like to see even more, maybe a pop-up window that says, like, be careful with consolidation. This really does break privacy, or at least decrease it. But as far as I know, the pop-up thing will wait for Avalonia. What do you say? Which of these three issues might be worth discussing here?
I think that was 4 topic there, and I remember the first one, so I'm gonna reflect on it, and then you're gonna bring up again. So what you said is that what should we prioritize? And I have to admit right now, maybe because of the contribution game, but maybe because there are just so many contributors and contributions in general, I completely lost control over what to prioritize. I'm just reviewing and reviewing and reviewing, and there is no improvement, initiation. I can't do anything, so I'm not quite sure how to prioritize right now. We will see after the contribution game if we will be able to plan again. Right now it's just not happening, you know. What else was there?
So I think maybe one issue to point out is this changing of the default anonymity set target. It's been, as you said in that issue, like this one-time choice of having it at 2, 21, and 50. And these, I think, were very good numbers in the early days of Wasabi. I mean, I still remember the 5 anonymity set coin joins, right? And here 50 target means 10 rejoins or like re-registers. And I don't know, I think it's pretty uncontroversial to say that it's very good for privacy to have these re-registers because it does not have to change, right? And it just means higher anonymity set across several pools of peers. And so I would like to reflect, because currently, right, if the highest per default is 50 anonymity set, and because we have 0.1 times 100 anonymity set, this means even after one join, accordingly to the SCUI indicator, it's perfect privacy because it's the highest that can be achieved. And I think that this is not good in a sense that we can get better privacy than just one round. And it should actually be 3 different levels of privacies that are actually meaningful. Right now, 2 and 21 and 50 just somehow all fall into the same thing. After one CoinJoin round, you jump from nothing to green checkmark. And I think that that kind of betrays the reason why we have these 3 shields, to have actually 3 different levels of privacy. And I would like to know how we can make that a bit better.
So I already responded to that issue, that these numbers are numbers because something had to be chosen, you know, like how surgeons wash their hands. They have a protocol for that. They have to scrub their little finger 7 times in one direction. Why 7? Shouldn't 8 be better, or 6 be better? I don't know. It's definitely they have to wash their hands. How? Well, it's not that well figured out yet. Maybe it is, I don't know. I'm just it's just a metaphor. You understand my point. Now, regarding the anonymity sets, if you would force people to mix twice, then that could be interpreted as something that we would want to take more money, so we are forcing you to mix more, and on the other hand, that 50 is a lot for anyone except who has some things, who really don't want those things to come to light. And the general user is our target audience, not the grandma not the grandmas and grandpas are the target audience of Wasabi, but someone who understands Bitcoin, somewhat understands Bitcoin, and not those who, so this is the default, and those who need some really crazy privacy, then they can go into the settings and put the bar higher. But even then, how do you decide what is right, what is sufficient anonymity? It's an extremely hard question, and there are no answers to that. I sent out emails to a bunch of people who are working on Bitcoin privacy, even the guy at Zcash, and no one really had any answer to, well, what anonymity should we go for? Well, 50 seems right, 100 seems right, and it just we don't know. So why change the numbers that we don't know much about, and these numbers feel right,
Yes, in a sense, I get that changing this is bad, and I know that research is much more needed. But maybe on the numbers that I personally have in my configuration and that I think are good defaults would be 32 for the lowest, which would be pretty much like one round with most everything will give you 32. Then 64, binary, that would be even better. You can still get 64, meaning a green shield within one round. But then if you want to get the green check mark, you need 128. And that is higher than 100, meaning that it has to be a remix, right? It cannot be done with just one single mix. And I would just say that a remix is much, or not much better, but it is better enough to deserve a separate mark or icon. But Aviv, I know that you've been tinkering a bit with this. What are your thoughts on what should the default be? Because it's difficult.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I think this is it's just a tough question to answer. It's actually not about the anonymity set. It's more about remixing. That's important. I don't have. I mean, I think it's fine. Like what Max is proposing seems to me to be fine. It's not clearly solving the problem, which is, I think, what Adam is trying to point out, which is that, yes, it's just better. Like, you're essentially saying mix more, which is fine, but it's not clearly solving a problem. So I think in the future, I have some proposals underway about sort of free remixing and other things, and I think the future ideal proposal is you mix once when you get the coins and you mix again before you spend them. I think that is probably the most useful, but again, that's for future development. For now, we could keep it the same, we could update it to what Max says. I think both are fine.
That is the point Max is making about remixes, but
But doing this way, it requires us some.
You mute your. So there is a point that Max is making about remixes, and it makes sense, but you forget it that remixes happen all the time, and the chances are with 50 anonymity set that you're going to remix anyway, because you know the denomination is not 0.1 but 0.1 and 0.2 and 0.4 and t. So when you're not going to remix is only the very first round. That's the only place where you're not going to remix and you get the 50 anonymity set right away. No, and I think that is something that doesn't matter much.
You know, I get this absolutely, and here kind of lies a bit deeper problem, that the feedback that I got was that the users were confused that it jumps from red to green checkmark directly, and then them not knowing that there is something better to still achieve. And that's why I would like to, again, make these shields a bit more useful in the sense that they actually represent 3 different types or levels of privacy. Right, because right now you get the green check mark for the 0.1 denomination instantly, and you assume, okay, that's it, I'm done. But like not knowing that there might be even better things to do. So I'm not necessarily saying we need to like encourage the remixing, but I'm rather saying we need to make these shields more useful again so that they are actually meaningful.
Okay, let's start on something that we can agree on. I think we can agree on the anonymity set 2, right? Because if you have a anonymity set 1, then there is no ambiguity. But if you have anonymity set 2, then there is an ambiguity. And if you have anonymity sets 3 or 4 or 5, the jump is never going to reach as much as of a jump as from anonymity set 1 to anonymity set 2. I think we can agree on that, right? So the anonymity you gain from anonymity set 1 to anonymity 2, that level of anonymity is never going to be reached from anonymity 2 to anonymity 3 or anonymity 3 to
I think I understand what you're saying, Adam.
Sorry again?
I think I intuitively understand what you're saying. You're saying that there's like there's diminishing returns after you hit anonymity set greater than 2.
Yes.
Right. Again, I think the problem with the numbers, so one thing I'll agree with Max is that if you make the anonymity set higher, it just makes users remix more, and maybe that's intuitively better. But there's also a problem right now where fees are unstable, and we're not entirely sure all the time what users should be expecting with fees. So it's just unclear if this is going to have a net negative or a net positive effect.
And also keep the end goal in mind, which is every spend a coin join, and that assumes no remixing, or they can remix spend themselves, but that's how a wallet becomes user friendly, when every spend is actually a mix. Okay, there is no consensus on this topic, but we have to move on. So Max, do you have something else to bring up?
Yes, and now directly stuff that I got from users here. The most things that I saw was one, to have a manual fee setting. That is desired because many people complain that they have to pay 2 satoshis per byte, which is kind of ridiculous. But they want to pull it down to 1 satoshi per byte. And manual fees, yes, fingerprinting and all, but I think that is something that users really would like to see. And maybe one additional thing to fill the silence is the encryption manager. So to be able to sign and decrypt messages with the private keys of the Bitcoin. And for here, I noticed BIP 322, which is a standard for all types of scripts to sign and encrypt these messages. So that might be something to look into 322.
So, yes. I'm not sure what you are talking about, but for many of these settings, yes, I believe that that there is a concept ask for that. From me, it's how do you hide that in the UI? Now, that's an interesting question. Yeah, but I don't have anything against that,
Maybe right-click on the fee. So left-click will change from satoshis to byte to total satoshis to dollars or whatever. And then right-click will give like a drop-down menu with like manual edit or something.
No. And anyway, maybe when they go to, I don't know. It's not that hard of a problem, but I don't want to bother every user with it because it's not going to be used by many. So anyway,
I think it's one of those things where we could go in the direction to offer a simplistic interface, or the 80% use case interface, and extend it with contextual menus or something like that, depending on the use case, for more advanced features, like in this case, manual fee selection. I don't have an exact idea. I'm just pulling up the interface, and but I think there are more places where we could use something like a beginner-friendly interface and toggles or contextual menu stuff for making advanced features accessible.
Interesting. Here it is.
Just a quick point about manual fee entry. I think that we should promote specific fees, like 10 different preset fees that are quite wide in range, and users can pick those. This will prevent fee analysis when looking at transactions that share the same unique fee.
yeah, I really don't want to go into it, but there are 2 ways fee, and there are 2 ways fee can make wallet fingerprinting bad. So, for example, if your wallet cannot do this, some kind of fee, now that's wallet fingerprinting, because if they are looking at the transaction and, hey, this fee cannot happen with Wasabi wallet, now that's a wallet fingerprinting. But there is the exact opposite argument for this, is that if Wasabi can do this fee, but the other wallets cannot do this fee, then that's the wallet fingerprinting. So it's like a lose-lose. Yeah. Anyway, Okay. So yes, this is something that can go into Wasabi. And just have to find a way that users don't see it. Anyway, anyone working on it, go ahead. Max, do you have something else?
No, please, others go ahead. I've been blabbering for too long.
All right. Then I will assume Lucas is not coming to this meeting, and let's go back to the let's decide on the new meeting time. We should bring it forward. How much forward would be good for Jumar?
Hey, would you guys be happy to change the day as well? Like maybe a Wednesday during the day or something like that?
Yes, it's good for me.
Wednesday. It's not good for me. It's good for me for 2 months, but after that, I will have the training that day. After 6 o'clock. With this time we have. Now we have the meeting 8 o'clock.
I'm thinking more we have it. Oh, Lucas is here now. Hey, Lucas.
Hi guys. Sorry, I forgot the meeting.
No, Para was about to fire you.
Hi.
Yes. Hi guys. Sorry.
Don't worry, we'll take half of your salary. Don't worry. So we are just talking about we should bring the meeting time forward. And now David and Dan is fighting out the day because they want another day. So yeah, continue.
No, this day is okay for me. Monday is good.
On Monday, I definitely can't do Monday if it's earlier, but maybe we could say like Tuesdays. And I'm thinking like, would you guys want to do it? So Hungary is 1 hour ahead of London time, I think. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, I suppose.
So maybe like 2 p.m. your time on a Tuesday.
Good for me. Lucas, that would be 6 hours before this meeting. What time is that for you?
9. It is okay. I can do it.
Wait a minute. If we move that much, Wednesday is okay for me. I didn't do that. I know that.
That time is a bit too early for me. I don't think I would make that.
Maybe 3 in the afternoon Hungary time.
Wednesday?
That's good.
Yeah.
That would still be too early for me, unfortunately.
Which time zone are you in, Max?
Germany, and I can do at 5 o'clock. Unfortunately, is the earliest I can do.
How about we have a, because I think the main reason is to try and include Juma, so maybe we could have like a developer one and keep going with the Monday ones for other kind of stuff as well.
You know, like huge groups are horrible to organize, so
Yeah.
don't worry about that. And maybe it might also be good to do like a poll or something to figure out what the best overlap is.
A doodle.
Yeah.
We can do a doodle.
Okay, then. Does anyone wants to create the doodle poll? Maybe?
I can create it.
Awesome. Then I'm not going to write it down for myself as a task. So go ahead and create the doodle pool. Okay. Next topic is that I gave write access to the repository for Lucas and David, but with the mergeability of at least 2 reviews. So what does this result? It results that if Dan makes a pull request and David approves it, then Lucas can approve it and merge it. If David makes a pull request and Lucas approves it, then David cannot review and approve his own pull request. So that's the relationship there. So yeah, and use that that maintainership smartly. Anything you want to add or ask about it? Okay, I added Max a triage access to the Wasabi repo, which means he can label issues and some administrative tasks. I am planning to add triage access to more people, and it's just a beta function. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but I saw the need to add to Max because he's opening and talking about a lot of pull requests. So he would definitely have a good use of it. But yeah, I wanna add to Dan and I don't know to people here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be quite helpful. There's been a few times in the past when just being able to put a label on an issue would have been really nice.
And now let's get back to the observe on the UI thread, because I'm very curious that, man, if you say something new about it, it's kind of the whole world is going to just collapse.
Okay, so yeah, this mainly came about. I was looking at the reviews for the work that Juma did on his screen lock thing, and I saw you were putting on that he should add observe on UI thread. So I understand why you want to do that, but the thing is, on Juma's work, he doesn't have any code that interacts with anything apart from UI code. So none of his reactive commands, I mean, they're always triggered by the UI, so they're always on the UI thread. As far as I can see, none of his code interacts with anything that is off the UI thread. So adding those calls will just cause very minor performance hits, like cause some extra allocations. And I would prefer that we try to go for an approach where we are really thinking about which thread things are coming from. And there's quite an easy way to tell is usually if what you're subscribing to is either in the back end or it's coming from an event, then that's the time then you really need to just check what thread it could be coming from. If it's from a reactive command, or it's just a normal property, most of the time, in fact, if there's any time when it's not on the UI thread, then we've probably done something wrong elsewhere. And the approach of just putting observe on UI thread on every property is kind of a, it's just kind of a belts and braces approach. But I prefer that we were more, if possible, we could be more, just use it when we have to, you know?
Yes, I'm partly agree and partly disagree, because the code is going to be copy pasted and it's going to run perfectly on Windows and Linux, but it always fails on Mac, and that's the only platform that we don't have a developer at. And it's very sneaky. Now what I agree on is that regarding reactive commands and constructors, those two I identified for certainty that they don't need observe on the UI thread, but almost for everything else you do or if you don't, then you specify that you are observing on the task pool scheduler, not on the UI, not on the main thread scheduler. That works well. So there is no ambiguity of where should it really go, but for reactive commands and constructors it's unnecessary, and that was stupid of me of doing the output scheduler thing that doesn't even do what I thought it does. So yeah, I acknowledge that.
So, when you say the constructors, you mean subscribing to properties inside the constructor?
So we can expect that in the constructor, whatever you do is going to happen on the UI thread.
Yeah. If it's a view, if we're talking about view models, then yeah.
Yeah, of course. But for event subscriptions and things like that, you should specify that what thread you want.
Yeah, I completely agree. If it's an event subscription or it's anything that's to do with global or anything that's external outside of UI, yeah, completely agree. We should definitely use it then. My only concern is sometimes we're just subscribing to a property on its own view model, and I don't think it's necessary in that case. Very similar to the reason why it's not necessary for reactive command.
It's necessary when you're subscribing to a property on their view model, because that subscription might have asynchronous code, and that asynchronous code might have configure await, and that configure await might change the thread. It's a good idea to specify the observant things. What are you really observing on? And I've seen strange things when it's not just that you have to update the UI, the UI element on the UI thread, but you have to touch that UI element on the UI thread. This was the issue with my, do you remember I was creating a backing field, and that backing field was modified on not the UI element. So the not backing field, that backing field was modified on the task pool scheduler, and the not backing field, the real field, was modified on the UI, and actually that fucked it up on OS X. So the backing field, even the backing field had to be touched on the UI. So there was no need for backing field anymore, because that would be the goal of the backing field, to not be on the UI.
Okay, I'll have one more attempt to persuade you, but okay. Really, whatever it was that was touching that property from background thread, normally what you would do is you would post that activity to the UI thread to touch that property, rather than people listening to the properties or always dispatching to the UI thread. It's almost like we should move. I'm kind of just suggesting we should move the post to the UI thread to the other side. So rather than the listener listening on the UI thread, anybody that is modifying the property should post it to the UI thread,
Yeah, no, the other way around. Posting to the UI thread is asynchronous, and it happens in a synchronous context, and that gets really, really bad,
Yeah. Okay, then. I think you probably got some good reasons, and it doesn't do too much harm to have it in. So, okay, I'm happy.
I agree with the reactive command and the constructor. Maybe there are others I'm not aware of, but I identify these two case. Definitely doesn't need to be specified.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm out of topics, and then let's go again. Well, Dan, do you have something else to bring up?
Yeah, only I'm gonna since I got stuck on the menu thing, I spent a couple of days working on the managed file dialog. So I may send a pull request for that soon, if that's still something that you're needing.
Wait. You're creating. Don't move on to the next topic, or are you still talking about this?
Yeah, do you remember somewhere you needed a file dialog to open, and it was crashing on
Yes.
some versions of Linux? So in the next version of Avalonia, we're hoping to have a managed file dialog. So there was some unfinished work for that. So what I've been trying to do is bring that over into the Wasabi code base, so you guys can test it before the next release. So I'll do that because I kind of got stuck on the menu, so I needed to work on something else for a couple of days, and then I'll go back to working on the menu and concentrate on the Avalonia release.
According to David, that's a huge work.
The update for the next release or the file dialog? Sorry.
The file dialog.
Yeah, but we already did. Nikita already mostly implemented a file dialog. It's not merged into Avalonia yet, but it's so close to finished that I may as well bring it across, and then I'll send a pull request, and you guys can judge if it's going to be suitable. I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I was actually discussing this with David that we should implement it, and then we came to the realization there is a lot of issues, not unsolvable. We just came to the realization it's a huge work.
It is definitely a bigger job than it seems at the beginning. It may be that because Nikita a while ago, I think it was like 6 months ago, he actually did the work. He may have already covered a lot of that, so it may not be such a big effort to finish it off. But I'll get a pull request so you can see what state it's in at the moment, and it may be quite close.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is browse file dialog and save file dialog, right?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Aviv, what's up?
I'm furiously typing away for something right now,
Thank you.
so
Thanks.
I can't say very much in terms of just a little overwhelmed right now. I'm considering deleting Twitter. So, anyways, I have to write something to a journalist who doesn't understand privacy. So, anyways.
We get back to you at the end. How about that? Okay. So
I just wanted to say to Dennis, thanks for joining. I actually missed the first minute of what you were saying, but yeah, I think you mentioned when you were chatting to me earlier on, you were asking like how you might be able to mock up some of the UI things, and then what would be the best way for us to implement them, and just wanted to see what were your suggestions.
Yeah, we talked about it. It should happen after the Avalonia update. That's the delaying it. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I think Dennis could be free to design any UI changes, suggestions, or do some mock-ups. So that when we come to implement those features, we can just use those as a guide to implement the UI like that. It may be helpful if he wants to do something like that.
Yeah, right now I'm pretty busy as well, but in the meantime, as you guys already said, I could, whenever I find the time to do so, progress with doing similar stuff to what I did regarding the onboarding screen.
Yeah, it was a very impressive work. Yeah.
Sounds good.
David?
Yes, I'm here.
Any topic?
No, I'm curious about that browser dialogue, but yeah, we will see if it is working or not.
Okay, how about
I hope so.
then?
Oh, sorry. Meanwhile, I created the doodle. I write every information on Wasabi dev channel on Slack.
Awesome.
So you can make your vote. I set up it to the next week, but of course it's a general vote, so it's not only for the next week, but I have to put some date in it. That's it.
Makes sense. Dennis, do you have something you wanted to bring up for us?
No, thanks for inviting me and being so kind. I'm really looking forward to progress or bring my knowledge from the UI side to this project. And thanks for making Wasabi.
Well, we thank you for what you're doing. Lucas, what's up?
Well, I was trying to update the HWI distribution, the binaries, but well, there is a defect for in the update UDEV rules. That well, I didn't see it before, so I push a pull request to the Bitcoin Core repository fixing it. But well, we have to wait for a new version in order to be able to install the UDEV rules as part of the Wasabi wallet installation.
Yeah, you know, one more thing about the UDEV rules, because you know, I updated and I'm testing that new HBI things and writing the tests and the library for that. But the help menu doesn't actually say, hey, there is a UDEV rules command there. So I completely forget about that because I don't even know what to type. So maybe it would be useful to put it in the help menu too, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, after that, I was basically testing and reviewing PRs, the logs screen PR, the Nicholas PR, the Pence PR, your PR, and I was testing all those PRs. I have changed the focus from coding to testing, basically.
It's quite a job, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's quite a job, isn't it?
Yes. What I couldn't reproduce was the problem with the spent coins. I mean, I was injecting errors in the code. I mean, in some lines, I was just inserting throw exception just to simulate an error in some part of the code and see if I can break or corrupt the wallet status. But no, I couldn't. So I don't know how to make it fail. In fact, in my case, I have never seen a spent coin. So I don't know how to do it. And I try with something that I tried before. But now it works. I don't know if it works because the wallet state is fixed after I open the wallet, or I don't know what. Um, the what I couldn't do was to try to simulate a failure in the Bitcoin node in the backend and see what happened when the RPC interface fails. So if we are marking or not a coin as spent or not. That's the only thing that have to try, but I couldn't. I wasn't able to do it. What else? Well, and no, and other things are not related to code, but I've reserved the hotel. I'm with the paperwork for the visa. That is incredible. The amount of things that the Chinese government want to know about me and my family. And that's all.
Yeah, just one tip there. Never say Taiwanese people that they are Chinese in Taiwan. So it's not a good idea.
Okay. Okay, I will do that.
They are very peaceful people, except when you bring it up. Anyway, back to Max. Did we finish with you or not yet?
Well, actually, I have. Oh, sorry, microphone was. So actually, I have something from Ben the Carmen, who, by the way, dude, thank you so much for all the support that he's done. Really, a bunch of awesome pull requests, fixing the many issues that I proposed. Unfortunately, he cannot attend the dev meeting, but he's listening, and he just wrote me on Slack a really, really brilliant idea on how to somewhat fix the shield issue. That the shield does not really correspond to the privacy level, especially for post-mix transactions, where, for example, you have the 0.1 and then you send 0.05 to the hardware wallet, right? Or you send 0.05 to buy your coffee, right? One is a de-anonymizing transaction, right, where the coffee shop knows your change. And the other one is not a de-anonymizing transaction because it's your own hardware wallet and it's consolidation within the same cluster. And it's really difficult to fix this with some kind of algorithm, and that's why we have the labeling. But so many users were saying that they want to see that the shield for the change gets reduced. And so Ben proposes that at the time of sending a coin, the user can mark if this is a private or a non-private transaction. Meaning if he's sending to his own hardware wallet or to his own mother, then this is private. And if it is a green shield, then it will stay a green shield. But if he is buying his coffee and is de-anonymizing himself, then he can check, okay, this is a non-private transaction, and this will reset the anonymity set to 1 and make the shield red. So I think that's actually quite a smart idea. What do you think about this?
I'm actually already reducing the shields from the beginning for the change, but only by 1, which makes no sense. Should be reduced more. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm not quite sure about the idea because I did not fully understand, but I agree with the general direction of what you're trying to solve there. Yes.
Yes, I'll write something up more thorough, but I think it's a really cool idea.
Sure, but just consider if it can be done simpler, like reducing the shields, cutting it half or something like that. If it makes more sense, then that would be easier to do. Just saying. But yeah, sure. Describe it. I'm sorry. I was just spacing out. I didn't understand. Okay, and now we are back to Aviv, and he's our last Yahia left. So yeah.
I'll just leave it for now. I recently sent a few people the new fee model that I proposed. If you would like, Adam, with your permission, I can send it to everyone else as well, and we can start to talk about that. But maybe it's best for another time. It's almost 12 o'clock, and I still have to finish writing this paper.
All right. There was a discussion between you, me, Paris, Greg about the fee model. I'm not quite sure what was the outcome of that. But Yeah. So my
So
my point is that it's not up to me, right? I have to get acceptance from them too. So it would be beneficial if we would talk it in well, 4 of us there. Yes, they get involved in that too, and yeah, remixing should be encouraged somehow more. That's for sure.
yeah, so just to be clear, so that everyone understands what's going on. So there are some improvements that a lot of people have been considering with respect to remixing and denominations and amounts and how functions are done. But of course, when we start touching on how we collect fees and how we collect money, it's important that that this is like a business decision and not a technical decision. So what Adam is saying right now is just pointing out that essentially the CEOs of the company need to sort of say that there's nothing about this design that is hurting the business. And once that's clear, then it's up for technical exploration and debate. So I really respect that. But just so everyone's on the same page, it's nothing super secretive. It's just a decision for business before it's a decision for the programming.
So what I had in mind is that to not take fees from remixers, rather we distribute that money to the active output, which would result in much slower tech raising of the denomination and almost free remixing, or even paying out for remixers some money, sometimes some satoshis. That would be my idea. I'm not quite sure what's Aviv's idea.
Would you like me to talk for a few minutes about it, or we could leave it for next call? Again, it's almost 12 o'clock. It's almost sorry, on the hour. Excuse me.
I think you should talk about it. Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna pull this up 1 second.
Yeah, it is. With some
Apologize.
merchants,
Okay,
yeah,
so
some merchants,
I'm just gonna list the
So
specific
that's what I'm saying
tweaks,
is
and then
that
I'll answer any questions. We can discuss it. So the first thing I would do is set all denominations to exact amounts. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, 0.8, and these amounts are static over time, so they don't change at all. The second thing I would do is that the Wasabi fee should also be static at 0.3% and make it no longer proportional to the anonymity set you are getting from a particular transaction. And I'll get to the design decisions of each of these at the end. I'll just sort of lay out all of these features first. The third thing is that remixing a coin that is a mixed output is completely free. That means no miner fee, no coordinator fee. The next thing is that the Wasabi coordinator will have to pay for miner fees. The next is that Wasabi will allow users to set a minimum denomination in the wallet, allowing for mixes that result in 0.2 or 0.4 denominations, but not lower. This is not important for this particular example. Another feature is that Wasabi will allow a maximum of 50 participants per round to remix. Wasabi will prioritize by coin days destroyed who gets to remix coins. And Wasabi will allow users to manually declare mixed output addresses. So I want to just quickly summarize why I've made these design decisions. So let's talk about the most important one, which is how users are charged right now. So I think a lot of people can say something about this, including Max and Lucas and David and whoever else is in the public space and listening to people using Wasabi, but it's very unclear how much they're going to get charged. In particular, it's unclear because when you ask questions like, what am I going to pay? How much do I need to participate in Bitcoin? How much Bitcoin will I receive? What is the cost for the price I'm getting? It's unclear because you don't know how many participants will be in a round until the round happens. You don't know what the network fees are until the round happens. You have no idea what's going on until the round happens. And I suggest that we simplify things for the user. Instead of making them think about math, about how many anonymity set in a particular round, we say, listen, we will charge you 0.3%, regardless of how many participants. And from then on, you can remix as much as you want. So this goes to the idea that Adam was talking about earlier of essentially a privacy buffet. So you pay once, you know exactly how much you're paying, you know exactly what to expect, you know exactly the denomination you're going to get, and then from then on, you can remix as much as you want with certain constraints that we'll talk about later. And you will very easily get more than 100 anonymity set if that's what you're looking for. But I think that there's more utility in remixing there.
Right, right.
So
Yes,
allowing
yes.
denominations to be exactly 0.1 has a ton of advantages, not just for those who are OCD and those clean denominations, but also for users who want to participate in remixes. And again, right now, if you remix, it really depends on how big the coin you have and how big the coin you want to remix. And it gets extraordinarily complicated for users who have a large amount of coins they're remixing, because now
I know Bunny's already
you know,
confirmed.
they have 10 different coins from 10 different mixes with all these different amounts. This makes things really, really complicated. And Lucas made a really good point. He said that this is a complicated stochastic process. It has all these different variables. We don't know what the CoinJoin will look like until it happens. But I think that if we take certain things and simplify them, we can actually know deterministically in advance what a CoinJoin will look like before it happens. So I think this makes a lot of sense from a design decision perspective. Prioritizing remixes by Coindays Destroyed, I think, is smart because it allows for older coins to remix with more likely than a newer coin. This means that we will have less overlapping clusters. And so, yeah, I'll leave it at that, and I just want to hear anyone who has some immediate criticisms or objections.
This is a lot more complex than I expected it to be, and I have so many things to say. One is that who's going to code it up safely, and I'm not even sure I can trust myself with that job, because this is there are a tremendous amount of nuances regarding the fees in order to optimize privacy in Wasabi right now, and you would have to safely remove everything and then implement the new system. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is that we fucked it up in the beginning, that with our terms and conditions, that we implemented it in a way that we cannot update it, and the fees, how the fees are being charged, are actually in that, so they accept it. So now we would have to do some work. It wouldn't even be a backwards compatible change, would it?
Yeah, so it's interesting because the 0.0003% idea per anonymity set, we could actually keep that. The reason why I propose not to keep that is because it makes it irregular for the user. The user doesn't know what to expect. And this is the challenge that I find. So by saying it's 0.3% and the denominator is always 0.1, users know it always costs me 0.3 millibitcoin to participate. And this is something I can explain to someone without introducing fractions and percentages. But if we absolutely cannot go renege on our promise, and it's too complicated and it's not legally backwards compatible, that's fine as well. We can stick to 0.003, and I will just tell people to expect this is 0.3% as a cost. But overall, in terms of validation and building the transaction, it's actually much simpler, I think, than the current model we have today. And I can't say this with too much confidence because I'm not the one that is programming this, and I'm not the one that is familiar with the backend code. But I think that it's much simpler in a lot of ways. For example, when you program for a user's wallet, how to know if they're being screwed over or not, it's actually quite easy in this model, because you can set a fixed hard-coded maximum that a user should spend in a CoinJoin, because they're not worrying about miner fees, and they're only paying for 0.3%. So you always know that. And when a user remixes coins, they should expect 0 fees paid. So it should be very, very simple to program that you should not lose any money whatsoever. And when a Wasabi coordinator is collecting inputs and constructing a transaction, it's also very simple because every input that isn't from a previous Wasabi CoinJoin, that person is paying 0.3% on all outputs that are getting mixed. And then at the very end, you decide on the fee that is appropriate, and that's deducted from the Wasabi coordinator fee. So it makes it much, much easier that you don't have to think about how much is the minimum entry and what's the denomination output and all these complicated things. I think it's simpler.
I don't know, you are glossing over a lot of things, but yeah, sure. Let's put a plan in place and then figure out what is the way that we can update our fee model. What is it right now? The user, when he creates a wallet, he clicks on the terms and conditions. So that's the thing there. What we have to somehow do is that from the backend, we can update our terms and conditions, and every time we update our terms and conditions, the user is going to receive a notification and he has to click or not. Now, this is something that can only be done if we force every single user to update to the next Wasabi version so now they are able to accept the terms and conditions because we changed the mechanism. Now, this is the prerequisite of that. First, this is like, well, I would say 1 week of coding, not that big of a deal. It can be done and it should be done eventually. Now, the forcing everyone to update to Wasabi, we have a mechanism for that already built into the clients, which is we changed the Wasabi server's URL from version 2 to version 3, so now they won't be able to communicate, but they still have one big message that says, hey, breaking changes on the yeah, there are breaking changes, so you either update or you can't use Wasabi. Now, this is not something that we should take lightly, this feature. We only did once. This was needed to do some security fixes. I guess we can disclose it now because it didn't seem like Samurai did anything about it, even though the guy who did the responsible disclosure, nothing much. They contacted them too. So anyhow, we had some security issues, and that triggered us to do this hard fork, and then we put a bunch of awesome features into the hard fork because now we are doing hard forks. Let's just not just waste it on one security issue, but let's put more things. So that's the thing there, that if we are doing this kind of hard forks where we are forcing every user to update, then we have to do it for something like really important. Now, is this important enough to do that? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not quite sure about that. Okay, so now we solved how to update to our new fee model. And now we can talk about the new fee model. I already said who's gonna code it up. I have to be the one, and even I'm afraid that I make mistakes there, and mistakes there are really pricey. Okay, the other thing is that we have to make a business case for that, for Greg and Balin, because if we end up just doing something, then we might it's risky, you know. Fair bit of people are working for Wasabi, and if we fuck up the fees, then that's not a good for anyone in this room. Okay, now we have the feature, we coded it up. A couple of things about the feature that you said is that the remixers are not going to pay not even minor fees, which is, how do you plan to do that? Steal from other people who are not remixers, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, right? So minor fees are the costs, right? And the profit comes from new participants joining. Again, there's a waiting on Coindays destroyed, which prevents DDoS attacks, right? And I think it makes sense to accept that they're essentially free riding, but what these remixers are essentially doing is adding anonymity to the network and increasing the anon set for everyone, right? And also increasing the speed of coin joins that are happening, which is pretty important from a user experience perspective. So I think it's very. I think it could work. So if in particular, if we have more users that are comfortable with larger amounts mixing, those are very, very profitable. And I think that overall, it's sustainable within a certain bound of network fees that we should expect.
What prevents me to just keep mixing and free riding with 99 clients forever?
It's a great question. Nothing prevents you from free writing and remixing. So the thing that you are doing that's beneficial to the network is you are making these coin joins faster. What does prevent you from being a part of all of the coin joins in this way is that every time you mix, you're now at the back of the priority, right? So someone who mixed once a week ago and now wants to remix, they're going to have priority over you. And so is anyone else who's going to be using the wallet in a much more logical way. So you're just going to be behind the queue. But you're right. There is that attack vector, and I think it's one of those things where we can just.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I think it makes sense. I'm not 100% sure, but I see how you are trying to solve this problem. So yeah, that's enough for me for now in conceptual level. Okay.
Maybe,
excellent.
Can I just drop in a couple cents here, because I'm actually quite against that idea, and mainly because of economic arguments that indirect payments, meaning a payment that does not directly correlate with the service being transferred directly. This always, per definition, and that is an economic law, leads to proportionally more malinvestment and overconsumption. Basically meaning that free riding means that people use too much, and that because they don't really have to pay for it, as Adam says. And in this sense, it's really, I think, it depends on the details, of course.
So Max, I actually agree with you. The biggest concern is exactly what you're describing, right? I mean, we can't have. Despite attempts, communism isn't working as we would expect. So we can't have free things. But there's still time. There's still computational effort. You still have to queue things up. You still have to wait. You still have to have coins that you aren't spending or moving anywhere else. So it's not free, in the pure free sense. But remember that we will have a hard limit on how many people can remix in any transaction. So we can't have a problem where, I think the most rational ratio would be a 1-to-1. So 50 participants can remix, 50 participants can. This is the most logical because it allows for participants to mix once and then, on average, mix one more time before they spend. And that's actually an ideal way to use CoinJoin because it hides where you, when you spend your coin, it hides when you entered the CoinJoin. So if people DDoS attack, all that happens is that the 50 participants queue gets completely filled up, and older coins have an advantage over newer coins, and hopefully coin joins happen faster, and all coin joins will have 100 participants. So I see what you're saying, Max, but it's not genuinely free. It's almost free.
I actually I like the problems that you are trying to solve, and probably it would solve much more elegantly than how we are doing it right now. I really don't see how that change could be implemented properly. What I can see is that we let the coordinator fees of every remixers to not pay anything. They still pay the coordinator fees, but they are not paying for us. They are paying for everyone else in the round. If you know what I mean, it would be a much simpler change, and it would solve many of the problems that you are citing. Now the question is that fee that they are paying is that significant that we would just go out of business or not? What do you think about this idea and concept?
So,
What would it not solve that your system would solve?
so can you just repeat specifically what you want to implement here? Is that users only pay for network fees, but not for coordinator fees? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes. My idea is to make the denomination go down as slow as possible. That would be my goal.
So there's sort of a cluster of problems that are all being hurt by changing denominations. Everything from users confusing things to users having coins that are old and they want to remix and now they have too much or too little coins, to users not knowing what to expect in terms of fees because their coins are of different sizes and it's hard to tell from looking at your history where you spent and why and how come it was this and that. So the solution becomes much simpler as soon as you commit to keeping denominations static. It becomes really simple. So this is the thing that I'm sort of holding on to. That's one of the only things that in my proposal that is like that I think has to be the case. Everything else we can slightly tweak, but keeping fixed denominations makes things really much better, much simpler.
I think there is a fair chance that my idea would achieve that in current Bitcoin fee environment. Yeah, it's not a fair chance it would achieve it. Yeah, that's.
What do you mean? That the denominations would be static?
Yeah, because they pay the coordinator fees, the remixers, but they are not paying for the coordinator, or maybe they pay some. But the point is that they are paying what they pay. It's divided between the active denominations, so the denomination would be higher. So the denomination would be exactly what it should be.
I still think that we're going to bump our head into other problems with changing denominations, but this is just. But I think it'll help if you take a look at the doc that I sent you, because I sent it to you very recently, like I think in the last 12 hours, so you haven't had a chance to quickly glance over it. And I'm guessing we should probably leave this conversation to another time.
All right. So anyone has anything to bring up? Oh, Yahia. Hey. Oh, wait a moment, Lucas. Yahia is back. So okay. I want to give him the chance to, if you want to bring up something.
Thank you, Adam. But actually, I have nothing special to say.
All right, fair enough. So go ahead, Lucas.
No, just from the conceptual point of view, I think. Well, first, I think that our fee model is right. I mean, you pay for what you get, and for me that's okay. However, I really find difficult to explain our fee model to people since the beginning. I mean, when you say you have to pay 0.001 0.3% per anonymity set, and well, now it's not so complicated for me because I have access to the code and I know the details, but it is not so easy to explain. So I think we have to do something about that. I don't know if now or in the near future or the far future, but sooner or later, I think we have to improve a bit that.
Yeah,
That's my biggest
was why this thing even became a thing is that everything come from one decision. In the beginning, we took 0.3% fixed, but we were like, fuck, like there are like two people they are mixing and we are taking 0.3%. That's really bad. Let's just adjust it to the anonymity set so you pay what you get. Okay, so we did that. Now the denomination started to go down like crazy, and just more and more nuances because we didn't want to overcharge our users.
Yes, I know, but in fact, I remember when Valint asked me to investigate why we are not getting the fees that they expect. And well, in fact, in the beginning, it was hard for them to understand the model. So if people that are smart cannot get it quickly, so many people will not understand it. In fact, I had a lot of discussions with Aviv, who is very smart, and it's hard to get it. So we need to simplify our fee model is good, but it's not deterministic because there are so many variables that play together that it is really hard to know how exactly how much you are going to be charged for that. So even when we can say, well, I can parse the transaction and say, well, in average, you are paying this percentage. Yes, but it is in average. And how about the dispersion of that? So it is a probabilistic model, and I think that's not good for the average user.
What can we apply any other kind of models now that we have? We are mixing not only 0.1 bitcoins. There are other denominations there, and you have to take fee for those mixes, but you cannot take 0.3% every time two anonymity set mix goes up. How
Well,
your model handle the Aviv?
yeah, so in my model, the expectation is it's a privacy buffet, right? You sign up, even if you mix and you get 0.2, the wallet will show you that your anonymity set, and the ideal thing would be to remix there, but you always pay 0.3%. So if you've got 0.1, 0.2, 0.4 outputs, then you pay 0.3% times 0.7, just how much you've got in terms of outputs. And again, people I don't think are going to to get all up in arms against this because nobody understands the current fee structure. Nobody understands that. And in the current model anyways, yes, you're not paying for the fees for 0.2 and 0.4, but because you're remixing anyways into the lower denominations, you're ending up paying more than 0.3% because you have multiple rounds to get there. So this just simplifies it and tells you in advance, like, you got 0.7 Bitcoin mixed, and you can continue to remix them to the denomination of your choice and the anonymity set of your choice, and you can pay 0.3% at the door.
You know, I really like this in the sense, and I think because we will very soon, hopefully, see this 100 Anon set CoinJoin pretty regularly, so that we can expect that 100 people will show up, and then it might not really like be that much of a change itself, in that sense. But Aviv, you also just brought up, and I actually wanted to mention that earlier, the choice to select specifically which denomination of equal value CoinJoin output is being created. And I think that is huge. That really is huge. I think that is missing quite a lot. So many people say that they would like to have specifically a 0.4 Bitcoin UTXO created, but they cannot because it just continues to get broken down. And not only is this bad for UX, it is actually really bad for privacy. If you want to have a 0.8 Bitcoin UTXO and you consolidate 8 times 0.1 Bitcoin from different transactions, that's actually like a rather like decent sized consolidation. And I think we can prevent this, right? If we somehow implement that, if the user selects, I only want to have 0.8 Bitcoin CoinJoin outputs, then simply only sign and propose or register for a transaction that creates the 0.8. And I hope that this would work. I don't really think that there's any like major design flaw with this, but what do you think in general about user selection of UTXO denomination?
So just before Adam jumps in here, what you're pointing out, Max, is exactly right. Preliminary research on output merging suggests that most users, like 90%, are merging outputs, which means at least the option for 0.2 or 0.4 would allow for many users to save on-chain space, to save transaction fees, to minimize merging analytics and privacy stuff. So you're entirely right. This is a huge improvement for users. There's one technical question which I'm not entirely sure of, which I need Adam, Lucas, and David to vouch for, which is, can a person sign up with a 0.4 Bitcoin output that's been mixed and remix it and give the coordinator a blinded output that the coordinator knows is only for the 0.4 denomination, without anonymizing to the coordinator the remix, if that question has been made clear.
There are a lot of opportunities here, and the most obvious one is that there is a little hack, is that if you are mixing with the same wallet, then you will end up registering the same output address to the coordinator, and in that way you are actually consolidating 2 coins or 2 or 3 or whatever you have coins in the CoinJoin, which can be done today. I'm really not sure what's the right approach, and is it even a good idea to when is it a good idea to consolidate in a CoinJoin? How would you show that in the user, to the user, that hey, I'm going to consolidate 5 UTXO of yours in this CoinJoin? On what basis?
So for now, we don't have to give them the full explicit menu of 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, 0.8, 1.6, etc. We can just keep it to 3 options, right? And 3 options are, when you queue a coin for CoinJoins, your options are minimum outputs 0.1, minimum outputs 0.2, or minimum outputs 0.4. That way, when you have this cascading CoinJoin that happens, it always only gives you, at a minimum, the amount you set up. So if you show up with 1 Bitcoin and you say my minimum is 0.2, then you will get 0.2 and 0.4 as an output. And then your 0.4 coin will mix into a 0.2 and a 0.2. And then the 0.2 change will mix again to get a 0.2. So it's not about consolidating coins. It's about when you register coins for CoinJoin, you just have like maybe, let's say for now, 3 choices in terms of minimums.
Exactly, absolutely, Aviv. That is pretty much exactly what I had in mind. Pretty similar actually to the coin selection. Maybe have on the left side as the inputs in a transaction, right? Select which UTXOs to register for the CoinJoin. And on the right side, right, where the outputs of the transaction are, you can select which denomination you want to have. And that is the exact same text box which then just has like the 0.8 Bitcoin with the green shield and like what, okay, anonymity said we don't really want to predict that, right? But maybe we could add that as well. So I think just having the same list architecture as for the send is a good way to go.
I think this would be a nice thing Max and I could flesh out and come up with an idea and present it to you. Because I would really be interested in that. I would really second Max's idea here, because from a user's perspective, I already missed this feature or something like this several times.
I want to come back for one moment to Earth a little bit, and I like to reiterate that for the past recently I was not able to work on anything I wanted to, because I was only assisting other people to work on what they want to. So anything fundamental changes like this, I'm very happy to keep assisting to the pull requests that you are making, but I don't know who's gonna do it at this point, because even I cannot choose what I am working on right now. And yeah.
So Adam, let me just say something in terms of about the progression of this idea. So the first thing I think is that we need to give the CEOs a week to think about how the legal and business implications are before we get excited about this idea. The next step after that is a proposal document that everyone can read, which I've drafted up and people can edit, and this can go on GitHub explaining the changes and so forth. After that, we give ourselves about a month or so with the expectation of roughly something like September 1st, a sort of hard fork, if that's what we need, or just a big update. And we launch it. I don't think we should do this quickly. I don't think we should rush this type of thing. But that's where I see the progression of this change. And I think that in terms of development, there needs to be one dedicated developer who, in addition to myself as the drafting the concept, that can sort of take leadership here. I would hope it's you, but if it's Lucas or David, that's fine as well.
Wait, give me a second. I think there is a step missing. We need to create a model, a mathematical model that we can simulate, yes, with some, I don't know, Python scripts or whatever, in order to play with that model and be able to tweak it because we don't know the values. And also we have to agree this model with the business, because I mean the company needs the fees, of course, so we have to keep the business profitable, right? So we need to be sure that what the new model will work as expected, more or less, before to implement it. So we need to create a model for that first and validate it.
So Lucas, I agree with that entirely. So in terms of purely speaking profit models, that's easy. In terms of, and I'm happy to do that, although it hasn't yet to be done formally with some graphs showing some different cases. In terms of like Monte Carlo simulations, where we're trying to, simulate different network fees and all of that, I'm not sure if it's entirely useful. In this particular case, because things are so simple in terms of the way things are working, it's just a matter of when is the registered participants and the fee we're collecting and the network fee, when is it optimal, and when is it outside of the optimal range, and just knowing that in advance. I don't think simulating will only just reflect that.
I would even take one step back how to start this thing before we even start to think about what this thing is. That there is an uncontroversial step at the beginning, is that creating an update mechanism to our terms and conditions, because we don't have that, and without that we cannot do anything about the fees now,
You know,
except
Adam,
load them. Yes.
well, but sorry, but the thing is, like for the update, I'm pretty sure that we will need Avalonia 8 for the notifications.
Not that kind of notification. It's not a UI issue. It's just, okay, imagine this, Max. When you download Wasabi, when you create a wallet, you click the terms and conditions, and that's it. That's when you clicked it. So now, if we update the terms and conditions, you're not gonna click it anymore. So we cannot update the terms and conditions. What is the solution? Is that the backend sends a signer to the client that, hey, I updated the terms and conditions. You have to click it in again in order to be able to use Wasabi. Now, this has to be built first. This is needed, even if Aviv's idea is not gonna happen. Even then, because this is a design flaw, that we are not able to update our terms and conditions no matter what. So this is the way. Now the problem with this is that, okay, now we implemented it, and now this works this way. That's great, but the people who didn't update Wasabi, it's not gonna work for them that way. So what we have to do is implement this system where the upgrades are, where the terms and conditional updates are happening, and after there is some security issue or something like that that requires a legitimate hard fork. Now we do that legitimate hard fork, and now we can be sure that everyone who is using Wasabi is on the new version, because there were no other option, right? So first step, implement this terms and condition update system. Second, wait for a security flaw, because every software has, so we will have it too. Yeah, go ahead, Lucas.
No, about the terms and conditions. And yes, when you create a wallet, you have to agree they accept the terms and conditions. However, the terms are and conditions are for our service, basically. Yes, because the terms and condition assumes you are going to use the mixing service. I'm not sure now. I'm thinking. I don't know if you have to agree terms and conditions if you don't want to use our service. I mean, because imagine I just want to use the wallet to receive and send bitcoins. Why do I need to agree on a service that I will not use? Probably you have to accept the terms and conditions when the first time you want to mix, probably. I mean, move the terms and conditions to the CoinJoin tabs or something like that. Because I mean, it doesn't make any sense to accept terms and conditions for a wallet. I mean, you accept the how much you will be charged, but probably that's not what you want. In fact, I don't mix a lot. Yes, I use Wasabi as my wallet for storing, sending, and receiving, and that's all. So I think probably we could have general terms and conditions and terms and conditions specifically for the CoinJoin service. No?
Lucas, isn't this just a legal question that we none of us here really know about because we're not smart, like the lawyers?
Very true, Aviv. So this is something for the CEOs. But I had the same hunch. I had the same feeling that this might be something to just have this for the CoinJoin tab. So maybe, but agreed, Aviv, this is not to us to discuss.
Yeah, I would actually disagree with that, but I don't need to disagree with that because even for this, the very first step is to implement a proper update mechanism for the terms and conditions, you know. It's yeah. You know why we did that wallet creation terms and conditions? Because the alternative is that when people downloading it from downloading Wasabi, they would have to click it in. That's what the lawyers wanted to do. And I'm like, no, I will build it into it. Just don't mess with the very first thing that the user encounter. Like, I don't know. But yeah, the update mechanism is needed for this too. No.
Excuse me, everyone. I think I have to pardon myself and reconnect next week.
All right.
So I'll be off here. It was a pleasure, and hopefully we'll get the document out to everyone so you can all review some of the ideas. And we'll talk soon. See you guys.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much.
See
Great
you.
to have you.
Bye, everyone.
Anyone still has anything or not? All right.
Wait, this is only halftime, right? We'll keep going for 2 more hours. Sorry, I mean 12 more blocks.
Okay. So thanks guys for coming, and have a good night and good day wherever you are, and thanks a lot. See you next week, unless the doodle poll already decided otherwise. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
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 Was fantastic.
Thank you,
very much.
everyone.
Keep building.